Another kind of impromptu fish room video is coming up. So we'll talk about some of the progress so far in here, a little update on Shantotto, and one of the new things we're going to be using in the new aquascape. So stay tuned. Hello everyone, this is Bentley. And kind of an impromptu one, right, again, but that's kind of what happens when your dog's recovering from surgery. First, what I want you to do is just from the side here, get a feel for running river and its light. And keep in mind we've got a good amount of coverage here from some floating stems, but this is the Aquasky 2.0 at maximum power on a 40-gallon breeder. And we'll have a closer shot in a minute, don't worry, but just keep that in mind. Because in a minute, we're going to test this new bad boy, the Aquarium Co-Op Light. Now mine got shipped, so it's got all sorts of packaging and labels on it, but let's get this bad boy out of the package and go over some initial impressions from just kind of first opening, looking at it, basic functions, etc. Now that we've got everything out of the package, here's this bad boy. Let's widen the shot a little bit. That's going to be way better, right? So this is the 36-inch model. I don't have the ballast yet, it's still in the box, but you'll notice that, like, just in its general construction, right, leg design, and if we bring this up a little closer, you can kind of see the LED design, very similar to a Fluval Plant 3.0, right? You might almost argue that this is kind of like Fluval 4.0, sort of, at least with some of the design concepts. And then, of course, without using the Bluetooth app, they're instead using this little inline controller here. While the cables are bundled, it's a little tougher, but it's basically a simple up and down click. There's an LED display to tell you the percentage you're at, and then there's a mode button. Simple, straightforward. Kind of the co-op style, right? Easy, all of it, right? Easy green, check. Sponge filters, the easiest filtration, check, etc., etc. Very Aquarium Co-op in style. So, I love hyper level of control. From an initial perspective, one, good solid weight to it. Solid construction. I don't know if you can hear that, but we're not talking just some cheap plastic shell, right? We've got a nice, I'm guessing, aluminum body. And the LEDs inside are a CRI of 95 or greater. And basically that's just a color rendition index is what that stands for. It's color accuracy, basically put. This matters a lot when you're doing filming and stuff, but for us humans, when we're looking at something, it's going to give us more true, big quotation marks, color like you would from sunlight as opposed to potentially having it stained because the light is more one color or another or not as high or CRI, where it could possibly alter the way the colors of our plants and fish are going to look. So, big positives, right? I want to slap this thing on a tank and just show you a comparison of the light. Now that you've seen the difference just for your own eyes, I think you can see a noticeable difference in the background here too, right? Definitely stronger light, but not so insanely different that you're just like blinding everything, right? And I think that's a good thing. We don't want something excessively powerful in our lights. Now, of course, this is at 100%. We could dim it down. And each time we hit the button dim, it goes down 10%, right? So we could bring it down. And this 60% is probably about where the Aquasky was sitting, roughly. Somewhere between the 60 and 70 mark. Just kind of looking at it myself, right about here. Probably actually more like 70. But one thing that I think is interesting is the modes are simple, right? It's daylight mode, a night mode, so I'll switch it, and you see how it goes through a dim process. Everything is built to dim, so when it goes off, the blue light slowly dims out, and then if it's going to come on, it ramps up over a few seconds. And I'll put it back to 100%. I like that. Obviously, like, lights just flipping on at full power can scare your fish. So having a soft ramp, even if it's only a couple of seconds, is enough to be a little less intense on your fish. Now, do I wish that ramp was a little bit slower? Yeah, for personal taste, but I think it's fine, right? Just, we're talking initial impressions, pretty good. How does this compare to, say, like the Flugel Plant 3.0? There's a significant difference in price here, right? The Co-op Light is quite a bit cheaper compared to a Plant 3.0 of the same size. It's very close in pricing to an Aqua Sky, and considering we have a little bit more power, and for those of you who don't like the app-controlled light, there you go. Now, me personally, you know, I love like a psychotic level of control in my light, so having something this simple where it's got a little bit of red LED, white LED, and blue LED. Now, granted, I think it looks nice. It's ever so slightly, like, yellow cast, and really all that is just because of the number of red LEDs. But I like that warmer look. For me personally, and with rainbow fish, the warm look looks good. I mean, look at the plant light behind here and compare over here for similar coloration. And this is a custom setup, right? So if you look at these, just Running River, Fallen Forest, at similar power in the grand scheme of things, this looks a little brighter, right? But this still looks really good. And this gives you a quick, just like, at a glance. And then we compared it to the Aqua Sky in the short video earlier. So, before we start really testing this light, and I'm going to be testing this light in the tank that my wife and I are going to aquascape next. That's where the main testing of this is going to come. And mostly, I'm just going to play around with settings. There's not a lot I can do, so it's going to be a matter of just like, how does it adapt to a Wi-Fi timer? Do I like it at a certain percentage on a 40-gallon breeder versus others for what I'm trying to do, right? In the tank we're doing. And just kind of what do I see? Real basic testing. Because it's not as complex as the Plant 3.0, I can only do so many things, right? So let's talk about some of the other things. We'll put some stuff. It's all how hot I am in my fish room. Again, it's warm, man, in this thing. It is 83 degrees in my fish room. The rest of my house is a nice, like, 70, so there's a big kick up. Anyway, so the tank that my wife and I are aquascaping, you'll see it now. I've cleaned out, got the filter off of it. I still have some cleaning to do. I did some minor cleaning on the glass. I picked out most of the plant matter that was in the substrate. I'm leaving those snail shells because I'm just going to put substrate over it, and it's going to be calcium down in the substrate. Perfect, easy, good for some of the plants we're putting in there. And then there was a big rock in there. There's like a dent you'll see. That's gone, and we'll be building out this aquascape more properly. I definitely still have to do some more glass cleaning. There's some tape on one side that I need to get off. And then, of course, we're going to put the black background on it. So most of that I'm going to be trying to take care of this weekend or early next week. I got way busier this week than I thought I was going to be. Stuff got pushed off. And then the area where my acrylic tank used to be, that's right here, you'll see that now. Acrylic tank's gone. We broke that down, got it out of there. I still got a little bit of cleaning to do in like the back window area. And I measured the top because the file cabinet that sits there has a little bevel to it. So the actual top is 31.5 inches by 18 inches. That is flat. Weird dimensions for doing like two tanks, because if you wanted 10s, they're like 20, right? So you would either have like an inch on each side kind of hanging off, or if you were doing them lengthwise, or you would be like 40 inches is just way too far across for this particular gap. And it's also not enough space to fit, like, say, another 40 breeder there, because there'd be 6 inches of unproperly covered. And yeah, you could probably put a piece of plywood down, but that's still a little risky. So I've got to figure out what kind of tank can go there. 29, surprisingly, and 20 longs are actually perfect for the top of that thing. But I want to see if I can find something that's got a little more depth to it. So I'm going to kind of look around and see if I can find something that fits that space more interestingly. I've talked to brother-in-law James recently. If we do just one slightly larger tank, what we're going to do is have my wife scape the big 40-gallon breeder, and then he will be in charge of the one that's in that gap between the two. So you'll have Aquascape from my wife, Aquascape from brother-in-law James, my angelfish tank, not really an Aquascape, but I like it, my jungle, and then down below it, another Aquascape from my wife. And we might actually move it so it's like the Aquascape tank, instead of being in the angel rack over there, comes over here. So we'd have Aquascape, Aquascape, Aquascape. I got to figure that out in the next few days when I start doing some work. And then, of course, the project tank that will go either here or there. I haven't decided where. That is going to be our undergravel filter setup. So that'll get that testing. Finally, if you didn't see the short, I just wanted to quickly give you guys an update on Shantoto, my dog. So many of you helped on our GoFundMe with her surgery costs. She's had 2 surgeries. But thankfully, the second one, the surgeon covered for us and just said, hey, you don't have to worry about it. It's free. So, count my blessings there, because the first one was, between the urgent care visit and her first surgery, cost me about $7,300 in total. And she'll have one more x-ray that has to get done and a few other medications as she goes through her recovery. But I wanted to show this short video. You can see I had a short previously. I did another recording literally the day I'm filming, where I was just walking her around in my backyard. And part of this is her rehab, because I want you guys to be able to see, she kind of 3-legged hops a few steps, and then she actually tests her leg and moves it. And the big thing, I had a call with the surgeon 2 days ago, as of the time that you're watching this. So Wednesday was when I talked to Thursday is when I talked to the surgeon. And when I was talking to him, he was like, hey, she needs to be walking some. And I was like, okay, well, she's doing this thing where she jumps a couple and then she walks and then she kind of hops a little and then she walks a few steps. And he's like, yeah, well, here's a couple tips on how, if you want to really get her to walk more and more, especially as you get further along her rehab. But for right now, if she is taking 10 to 15 steps a day on that leg and just even that little toe tap, that's enough considering she's only a week out from surgery. And for me, I was like, 10 to 15, huh? She's doing a lot more than that. So I take her out to walk, like I said, about 5 to 10 minutes, 3 to 4 times a day. It depends on weather. When it's super hot outside, it's harder to do it. Or if I'm super busy, it might only be 3 times a day instead of 4. But basically, she gets 5 to 10 minutes. She gets a longer one in the morning, and then a couple short ones as the afternoon gets hotter. And that's just to encourage that movement, right? This is part of her rehab. It was based on suggestions from the surgeon and all the wonderful staff there. So she's doing really good. This surgery, although it looks kind of scary when you see your leg wobble a little, right? Because it's still healing and kind of forming that false joint. But she's getting more and more confident with it by the day. She's walking more steps by the day and kind of hobbling a little less. She actually went to see one of the neighbor dogs during a walk, and she was getting a little too excited. And I had to kind of pick her up and be like, okay, we need to relax. We don't want to hurt ourselves. But she wants to go on her big walks. She loves to run. She loves to lightly play with some of the other neighborhood dogs when we're out on walks and stuff. And not being able to do that is kind of driving her crazy. But she's being a little trooper. She's doing a really good job. And so far in her early recovery, she's doing great. So for those of you who want an update on her, there you go. She's doing really good. And hopefully she will continue that process, and in about another 2 months, she'll be back to complete normal, right? She won't have her shaved side. She'll actually have her fur fully grown back in and be running and playing and all those things that we expect from her. So that's it for the update. Kind of a quick one about some fish room stuff, what I've tackled so far, what I'm working on. A first impression of this light, which I will say pretty impressive for its price point. The features are pretty simple, but honestly, I think we often get too deep in features and probably don't need as much as even a crazy person like me likes to have. Simplicity can be really good. So this light will be getting tested relatively soon. We'll see just how it looks on the new Aquascape that's coming up, and a few other things in the works. If you have an idea for a tank that fits those weird dimensions I have, other than a 20 long and a standard 29 gallon, let me know. I've got to do some research. I'm going to try and find a tank that really fits that space. I want a little depth to it if I can get something. That way it's easier or more interesting to Aquascape. And we'll do something with brother-in-law James, which will be really fun. So that being said, I want to thank all of you so much. Whether it's your supporting, viewing videos, just kind of helping out, wishing well for my pupper, or for those of you who have donated to help her out, just thank you. I can't thank you enough. It's literally like taking a huge amount of stress off of my shoulders. The first, like, as you're watching this, literally the first payment to pay off half of her surgery, effectively speaking, is about to happen. I'm in the process of doing that. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate everything you've done, and keep looking forward to more updates as we kind of get some recovery and get not only the fish room back up to stuff, but also the puppy back to her normal, happy, running around self. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.